Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Yolanda Melody. What is this weird obsession that people have with serial killers? If you were to search on Netflix, or any other streaming platform for that matter, you will find that there is an entire section dedicated to true crime documentaries, films, television series, all about serial killers. Most people look at this and think, yeah, and it's a genre, it's clearly very popular, what's the problem? But have you ever stopped to think about how strange it is that there is so much choice and abundance of content all surrounding one of the darkest things imaginable, and people actually enjoy watching this stuff? Not only that, but since serial killer documentaries have become increasingly popular, there are now people that claim to be fans of famous serial killers such as Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. Because according to pop culture nowadays, serial killers are sexy and so charismatic. If you were to search on Google, you can actually find merchandise promoting these serial killers. One t-shirt in particular that managed to reach headlines, and thus was promoted even further, reads this quote: "Choke me like Bundy and eat me like Dahmer." But it gets worse. There is even children's merch with the faces of these serial killers, and quotes such as, "What's one less person on the face of the planet?" Now, I'm not quite sure what the designers are trying to say here, but either way, it doesn't look good. I understand that in this day and age, there are so many people that are thirsty for attention that they try to be as edgy as physically possible because the only thing that people pay attention to nowadays is shock value. But regardless of that being the case, you really have to step back and think, how did we get here? Really? You can even purchase Jeffrey Dahmer earrings. This is literally a person who ate other people, so this man was essentially a cannibal. Not only that, but he was also a practicing Satanist, but they don't tend to draw attention to that aspect of Jeffrey Dahmer. But, I mean, to me it's pretty obvious. You don't have to have an altar and read the Satanic Bible in order to be a Satanist, really. Even though a lot of them do. At the end of the day, if you're practicing something evil, you're pretty much a Satanist. And on the subject of cannibalism, this is yet another thing that they are trying to normalise. And if you think that I'm being extreme in saying that, just take a look at some of these films. This is a film called Bones and All, released in 2022, and the category for this film is actually romance. But when you read the synopsis, it doesn't quite fit the bill of a standard romantic film. It's actually about a pair of young cannibals who flee together on a road trip across the United States of America and develop feelings for each other. So basically, two cannibals, and it's them against the world, and they find each other and they fall in love. Sounds relatable, doesn't it, to the average person? Here's another film called Fresh. Now, this film is actually labelled as horror or thriller. However, if you were to watch the trailer, it looks kind of more like a comedy. The production is very light-hearted, kind of rom-com vibes. I did actually watch this film 3/4 of the way in and I had to turn it off because, again, it's another storyline about a man and a woman. They start out dating and it turns out that the man is actually basically into cannibalism and chopping people up. But let me stress that the production was not presented in a horror kind of way. There are some truly disturbing scenes in this film that are accompanied by upbeat music, which a lot of people would think, oh, what's the big deal? So what? They decided to break the mold and try some different music in the background. Let me tell you this. Music is so powerful. It is probably one of the most influential types of art that you can consume. Music has the power to hypnotise and to completely change someone's perspective and it's utilised in films, television, because people know that it has an impact on people's emotions. Now, when you show someone something disturbing and horrific, the brain typically will react accordingly and immediately recognise, this is wrong, I don't get a good feeling from this. But when you accompany happy, upbeat music, it causes confusion in your perception. It is that powerful that it is enough to convince you that what you're seeing isn't actually that bad. And you can test this out for yourself. There are many examples on YouTube where people have put two scenes together, one with dark music and one with happy music, and suddenly it changes the entire scene itself. Do you ever think about how strange it is that most people do not get exposed to an extensive amount of violence in their day-to-day lives? In fact, if you spoke to the average person and asked them, how many people do you know that have been murdered? Most people would say, I don't know any. It's not a thing that we should have to endure in our day-to-day lives, but most people have been exposed to such a high level of violence and unspeakable acts performed on camera. You know, it's not just exclusive to true crime or serial killer documentaries. There's horror films, thriller. There is so much content out there that depicts endless violence and horrific things, and so many of us have become that desensitized that we can sit there and just watch these things without batting an eyelid. Do you not think that that's a bit strange? Sometimes I wonder how much damage it actually has done to most people's psyche to be exposed to this type of stuff over and over and over again throughout their lives. When people watch entertainment, they may not realise it, but they are experiencing a secondary reaction to what they are watching. When you view something on a screen and you're submersed in it and you feel the emotion of what's going on, the brain is actually interpreting that you are actually there experiencing whatever's going on, right? When you watch a horror film, for example, and something scary happens, you have a visceral reaction to what you're watching. When you look at the state of the entertainment industry, it shouldn't be that much of a shock that the people who are running it do not have the best intentions for the viewers. A lot of people question, why is the world so messed up? Why is there so much pain and misery? They think that the people who are ruling the world are somehow making a plethora of bad mistakes and that, oh, everything's just a mess because we're just trying to figure things out. But it doesn't take a genius to come up with actual solutions to what is going on. Here's a question. If the people who are ruling the world wanted peace and harmony, why would they be promoting endless amounts of content about serial killers? How many serial killers do you think got their ideas from watching horror movies? I'm not saying that the root of evil comes from content. There's a saying that life imitates art and art imitates life. And I think that that saying is very poignant in this time because the content that is available at the moment, as in from the entertainment industry, you know, mainstream stuff, it's deplorable. Even music nowadays is becoming so degenerate and negative, and it doesn't even sound good anymore. Most music nowadays hasn't even got a melody that you can dance to.
Hold on, let me explain something to them real quick. Before everybody starts screaming and saying, oh, like I told y'all earlier, you motherfuckers entered the rapture. And if ain't nobody flying up to heaven right now, obviously all y'all motherfuckers going to hell. Right with me. So, let's get it. Oh, you already here. I'm so sorry. You can't get out. You're stuck. It's over. You heard the song 1,000,000 times and you didn't even know.
People underestimate how influenced we are by the things that we see on a day-to-day basis, and how much of an effect it can have on you and society in general. I think 50% of the problem is the entertainment industry pushing this kind of stuff, but I think the other half of the problem is that there's clearly an audience for it. And what I've found more often than not is that it tends to be women that want to watch this kind of stuff. You know, dark stuff. And I have a few theories as to why that is, but if you have your own theory, definitely comment it below. I'm not saying that this is certain, but I feel as if, because typically women have this nurturing nature about them, they're drawn to watching dark stuff because their way of healing is to empathize. This is a very loose theory, so don't take this as gospel, but typically what I've seen is that men aren't as drawn to this type of content because they can't fathom why someone would want to watch something that evokes such a negative state of mind. A lot of the men that I know get very, very triggered by dark content, and they, you know, sometimes they end up getting angry and saying, like, why are we watching this? And I think the reason for that is because men's nature typically is to protect, and if there is a threat or danger, their instinct is to fight, to protect their wife, children, people in general. What I think is that when men see this type of stuff, it puts them in fight or flight because their instinct is to protect. But what's frustrating is that there is no solution, there's no call to action, so their adrenaline goes into overdrive and there's nothing that they can do with it. I also think that one of the reasons why people watch this type of stuff, particularly true crime investigations, etc., is because I think a lot of people have this desire to uncover the truth about something. I think that deep down everybody has a gut feeling about what is going on in the world, even the people that are asleep. And when someone watches a crime investigation or something about serial killers, it almost satiates that inquisitive desire to investigate something. And I think that's another reason why this content is promoted so much, because they don't want you investigating what they're doing. They don't want you investigating the corruption that is our reality. But what they will do is they'll give you something to distract you, something to satiate that desire. But all that it does is promote fear. Some people might even use the excuse that it's somewhat educational, but in what way? If you want to protect yourself from a dangerous scenario happening to you, wouldn't it be better to watch self-defense videos? This is one of those videos where I feel like, am I even making a clear point here? But anyway, the thing that frustrates me is you've got all of these people watching fictional, negative documentaries and films, and it's pumping them with adrenaline, it's activating their fight or flight, using up energy that doesn't need to be used. And then a lot of these same people won't dare to entertain conspiracies because they fear that their sense of reality will be shattered. So many people are too scared to hear the truth, but they still have the energy to watch endless hours of negative, dark content. Why is that? Thank you so much to everyone who donates to this channel. It helps me to continue to make this content. And thank you to everyone who likes, comments, shares, and subscribes so that these videos can reach more people. Love you, bye.